Do you remember a moment when you let something slip away, not realizing how significant it was? Often, we live in the shadow of emotional silences, ignoring what truly matters. What happens when we realize, too late, what we failed to appreciate? This is a journey through the depths of emotional ignorance. The story begins with a relationship that seemed perfect. Two souls that found each other, laughed together, shared dreams. Yet amidst laughter and promises, there was a subtle silence that settled in. What could have been a candid conversation turned into minor disagreements, piling up like ice beneath the surface of an iceberg. You get used to ignoring these cracks, believing that love is enough until one day reality asserts itself. When you finally realized you were losing something valuable, it was as if a veil had been lifted. The pain of acknowledging that what once felt secure was now slipping through your fingers. The unspoken words and unexpressed feelings created an abyss. You find yourself questioning, what could you have done differently? What was hidden beneath the surface that you didn't see? The truth is that emotional ignorance often blinds us to what lies in front of us. Caught up in routines and distractions, we set aside important conversations, moments of vulnerability. We forget that intimacy is built on honesty and exposure. The fear of hurting others or being rejected leads us to silence our emotions, and those silences can turn into regrets. The climax of this story arrives when the beloved person decides to leave. There are no fights, no dramatic farewells, just a deafening silence that echoes throughout the space. And it's at this moment that understanding hits you hard. You realize that the little things you overlooked were, in fact, the foundation of what could have been a lasting love. Reflecting on the relationship, you come to understand that the true loss isn't just in the departure, but in the opportunities that were wasted. The lack of communication, the fear of being vulnerable, and the reluctance to face emotional pain created a void where love could have flourished. This is the iceberg of emotional ignorance, the submerged part that, if not acknowledged, can sink even the most promising relationships. Now, you find yourself at a point of reflection. What have you learned from this experience? What can you do to avoid repeating the same mistakes? The pain of regret can be a harsh teacher, but it can also be a call to action. It's time to look inward, to confront the silences, and to understand that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. The depth of what was lost is a reminder that we should value what we have while it's still within our reach. Every silence, every unspoken conversation can be a sign that something important is at stake. Opening up to others, even when it's difficult, can transform relationships and prevent what we love from slipping away. So, as you wrap up this journey, remember that each of us carries an emotional iceberg filled with unexperienced moments and unexpressed feelings. Recognizing this is the first step toward transformation. We must dive into the depths of what we feel so we can build deeper and more meaningful connections. Change begins now, in every conversation, in every act of love and understanding. What you didn't notice in that relationship were the subtle signs that were always present. Conversations that never happened, feelings that were never shared. There was a void disguised as routine, where coexistence seemed sufficient but depth was lacking. You found yourself thinking that love could conquer all, but that was not true. Love needs to be nurtured with honesty and communication, and when these pillars are absent, the relationship begins to wither. Do you remember moments when a simple "How are you?" could have revealed both of your insecurities, or when a misunderstanding could have been resolved with an open conversation? The truth is, by avoiding these interactions, you entangled yourself in a cycle of silent misunderstandings. What could have been an opportunity for growth turned into an abyss of distance. The day everything changed was a turning point. The departure of the loved one wasn't marked by shouting or tears, but by a disturbing calmness. Looking at the emptiness left behind, you realized that you had lost not just a partner, but a part of yourself. What was once a shared life became a distant memory. The photos that once brought smiles now only evoke the pain of absence. The pain of late recognition is intense. You feel the pressure in your chest as you realize that you ignored the signs that were right in front of your eyes. Each moment not lived weighs like an anchor, pulling you down. Reflection becomes a painful exercise as you question your own choices and why you didn't allow yourself to be vulnerable. The realization that vulnerability could have saved the relationship is a hard truth to swallow. In this new moment, you begin to understand that love is not a guarantee. It is an active commitment, that requires effort from both parties. Everyone has their emotional baggage, and expressing it is essential so that it doesn't become a barrier. You realize that by suppressing your emotions, you were not only harming yourself, but also the person you loved. Reflecting on what happened brings a new perspective. You start to question, what could you have done to change the dynamic? Could you have been more open about your insecurities? Could you have shown more gratitude for the little things? These questions are the first step towards self-understanding. Pain can be transformed into learning. You begin to see that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but rather a demonstration of strength. By opening up about your insecurities and fears, you could have created a safe space for both of you to feel comfortable sharing your emotions. Instead of protecting yourself, you could have chosen to expose yourself, allowing love to deepen. This is the key to building a healthy relationship, the willingness to be honest and open. It now becomes clear that the silence that settled between you was not just a reflection of a lack of communication, but also a shared fear of getting hurt. The reluctance to discuss delicate issues out of fear of conflict ended up creating a chasm that was difficult to overcome. In the end, the silences became heavier than words. It's essential to confront these silences, understand their roots, and transform them into meaningful dialogues. What can you take away from this experience? The first lesson is the importance of communication. Talking about how you feel, about your insecurities and desires, is fundamental. This exchange not only strengthens the bond, but also provides a space for mutual understanding. You learn that honesty is a gift that should be given constantly, not just in times of crisis. Another crucial lesson is about vulnerability. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable is a courageous step. It's a way to show another person that you trust them enough to share your fears and hopes. This creates an intimacy that goes beyond the surface. When you open up, the other person feels encouraged to do the same, and this can radically transform the relationship. Furthermore, it's important to recognize that we are all imperfect. No one can guess what someone else is thinking or feeling. It's necessary to give space for emotions to be expressed. This doesn't mean you should wait for the other person to take the initiative. The responsibility for communication lies with both parties. If you notice something that bothers you, it is your duty to bring it up. Emotional responsibility also involves the ability to listen. Often you may be so focused on expressing your point of view that you forget to really listen to the other person. Active listening is essential to understand what your partner truly feels. By listening attentively, you can avoid misunderstandings that could escalate into major issues. As you reflect on this journey, you realize that what was lost can serve as a catalyst for significant changes in your life. The pain of regret can become a driving force, making you more aware in your future relationships. By valuing communication and vulnerability, you not only avoid repeating the same mistakes, but also open yourself to richer and more authentic experiences. The road ahead won't be easy, but it is a necessary step. Each small gesture, each heartfelt conversation can be a building block in constructing a stronger relationship. Starting over, you carry with you the lessons learned, ready to cultivate deeper and more meaningful connections. The transformation begins now, in the willingness to open up and value what truly matters, human connection. Do you remember moments when you felt lost in a sea of emotions? Reflecting on the relationship that has ended, it becomes clear that the lack of communication was a crucial factor. Routine can be deceptive, leading you to believe that physical presence replaces emotional connection. However, the truth is that coexisting without deep dialogue creates fertile ground for misunderstandings. What you should have done is create spaces for meaningful conversations. This doesn't just mean exchanging words, but establishing a safe environment where both could express their feelings without fear of judgment. Communication should be a habit, not an exception. Everyday conversations may seem trivial, but they are essential for maintaining connection. Often you catch yourself thinking that the other person already knows how you feel, but the reality is that feelings are not telepathic. By avoiding conversation, you allowed small issues to become big problems. What could have been resolved with a simple dialogue became a burden that both of you carried in silence. Remember that everyone has their own internal struggles. Sometimes, what appears to be a misunderstanding may simply reflect personal insecurities. When you open up to the other person, you create a space for them to feel safe as well. This is crucial because it allows both of you to share not only challenges, but also victories. Vulnerability is an act of courage. By allowing yourself to show your weaknesses, you not only become more authentic, but also invite the other to do the same. This exchange of vulnerabilities can transform the dynamics of a relationship. It is in recognizing each other's weaknesses that strength is often found. Additionally, it's important to remember that it's not just about what you say, but how you listen. Active listening is a skill that should be cultivated. Often you may be so focused on expressing yourself that you overlook the need to hear the other person. When you listen genuinely, not only do you better understand how the other person feels, but you also validate their emotions. Validating the emotions of others is a fundamental step in strengthening the relationship. It shows that you are present and care about how they feel. By doing this, you not only create a safe space, but you also build a solid foundation of trust. Trust is one of the most important pillars in any relationship. Without it, it's easy to lose your way. Sometimes you might feel tempted to avoid difficult conversations, believing that doing so will preserve the peace. However, that peace is superficial. Ignoring issues doesn't solve anything. On the contrary, it can increase tension. When a problem is pushed aside, it tends to grow until it becomes unmanageable. It's better to address difficulties while they are still small. Honesty should be a priority. This doesn't mean being brutal, but rather being sincere about how you feel. Even if the words may be uncomfortable, they are necessary to build a healthy relationship. Being vulnerable and honest can open doors to a new phase in the relationship, where both partners feel valued and heard. When you reflect on what has happened and consider what could have been done differently, it signals growth. The pain of regret can be a powerful motivator. Use this pain as a learning opportunity. Every experience brings with it lessons that can shape your future. What you can do is commit to being more open and receptive in future relationships. Transformation begins with the willingness to face your fears. Fear is a significant barrier to communication. You may fear rejection, criticism, or even the possibility of losing someone else. However, by confronting these fears, you become stronger. The courage to expose yourself can lead to deeper and more meaningful connections. It's important to remember that we all make mistakes. No one is perfect, and everyone carries their own insecurities. Instead of blaming yourself, try to understand what led to the lack of communication. What fears were present? By exploring these questions, you not only gain a better understanding of yourself, but you also become more empathetic toward others. Moreover, change requires practice. It's not enough to simply recognize that communication is important. You need to implement it. Start with small gestures, like asking the other person how their day was, or sharing something that affected you. These simple interactions can create a domino effect, leading to deeper conversations. By opening up, you also set an example for the other person. When you show that you're willing to be vulnerable, the other is likely to feel compelled to do the same. This reciprocity is essential for building a healthy and lasting relationship. Both parties need to be willing to invest time and effort in communication. Another important dimension to consider is patience. Changes don't happen overnight. Sometimes you may feel frustrated when trying to establish more open dialogues. Remember that everyone has their own pace. The important thing is to keep trying even when things seem difficult. What you learn from this experience should be applied not only for your own benefit, but also to help others. Sharing your stories and reflections can inspire those around you to be more open and communicative. The cycle of communication can expand, impacting more people than you might realize. Ultimately, be aware that life is made up of choices. In every interaction, you have the opportunity to choose to be open or to remain silent. Choose the former, even when it's difficult. The reward will be a richer and more authentic relationship, where both you and the other person feel valued and understood. Thus, as you conclude this reflection, remember that communication and vulnerability are fundamental to true love. There is no room for suffocating silences. What you carry now are the lessons learned, ready to be applied in a future where human connection is prioritized. The journey continues, and change begins with you. It's inevitable that upon looking back, you'll encounter moments when words were left unspoken. Each of us has experienced this to some degree, but the central question is, how can you transform that pain into learning? The first step is to recognize that communication is a skill that can and should be improved. It's not just about speaking, It's also about listening, understanding, and most importantly, creating an environment where both parties feel safe to express themselves. When you think about the silences that have settled in, it's important to understand that these moments don't arise from nowhere. They are often the result of shared assumptions and fears. Often you might believe the other person already knows how you feel, but this is a common trap. Love needs expression. If it's not verbalized, feelings begin to accumulate and create distance between you. The practice of communication should be intentional. This means you need to make a conscious effort to initiate meaningful conversations. Asking your partner about their day, their concerns, or what makes them happy can open doors to deeper dialogues. Often, these seemingly simple conversations can reveal layers of feelings that need to be explored. Genuine curiosity about the other person is a vital step in this process. Additionally, it's essential to create a safe space for vulnerability. When you open up, others feel more comfortable doing the same. This is a positive cycle that can strengthen the relationship. By sharing your insecurities, you not only become more authentic, but also encourage the other person to show their true self. This exchange is what builds intimacy and trust. Another important dimension is consistency in communication. Conversations shouldn't be reserved only for moments of crisis. Talking regularly about feelings and experiences can prevent small issues from turning into major problems. Routine can be a trap. Daily life can consume your time and energy, but dedicating a moment to connect can make the difference between a healthy relationship and one filled with misunderstandings. Recognizing that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a demonstration of strength, is a significant shift in how you engage with others. Vulnerability allows you to be seen and for your essence to be shared. This is essential for any relationship that aspires to be deep and lasting. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create a space where love can truly flourish. However, it's also important to keep in mind that communication is not a one-way street. Active listening is equally crucial. This involves not just hearing what the other person says, but genuinely trying to understand what lies beneath the words. Often, emotions are not directly expressed, and you need to be able to read between the lines. Open-ended questions during conversations can help clarify what the other person truly feels. Phrases like, "How do you feel about this?" or "Can you tell me more about what you're thinking?" can open the door to a deeper dialogue. As you progress in your journey of self-discovery, it's vital to remember that everyone has their own internal struggles. What may seem like a misunderstanding to you could actually be a reflection of the other person's insecurities. This means that when you open up, you should also be willing to listen and understand the other person's perspective. This exchange is essential for strengthening the bond. It's also important to remember that change doesn't happen overnight. Often you might feel frustrated when trying to establish more open dialogues. This is part of the process. The focus should be on staying committed to communication and vulnerability, even when things get tough. Patience is a virtue on this path. As you reflect on your experiences, keep in mind that life is full of choices. Each interaction is an opportunity to open up or remain silent. Silence might seem like the easiest choice, but in the long run, it's dialogue that builds relationships. By choosing to be open, you are investing in the emotional health of your relationship. Furthermore, you should keep in mind that honesty needs to be a priority. Communication shouldn't just be about sharing happy moments. It should also involve discussing difficult feelings. These conversations can be uncomfortable, but they are essential for building a real connection. Being vulnerable and honest can open doors to new phases in a relationship where both partners feel valued and heard. When reflecting on what happened in your previous relationship, use that pain as an opportunity for growth. Ask yourself what you could have done differently. Reflection shouldn't be a way to blame yourself, but rather a means to understand the dynamics that were at play. Every experience carries lessons that can shape your future. What you can do is commit to being more open and receptive in future relationships. Transformation begins with the willingness to face your fears. The fear of rejection or being misunderstood can be paralyzing. However, by confronting these fears, you become stronger and more capable of building healthy relationships. The courage to expose yourself can lead to deeper and more meaningful connections. Finally, keep in mind that we all make mistakes. No one is perfect and each of us carries our own insecurities. Instead of blaming yourself, try to understand what led to the lack of communication. The willingness to explore these issues not only enhances your self-awareness, but also increases your empathy toward others. This awareness can be key to preventing emotional silences from dominating your future relationships. Every interaction is an opportunity to redefine what is possible. The journey of self-discovery and effective communication is not easy. You may feel lost amid all the emotions and reflections, but it is within this process that significant changes begin to take shape. The first step is to acknowledge that the past cannot be changed, but your future interactions can be shaped by the lessons you carry. When you reflect on what happened, it's essential to take stock of your emotions and actions. Realizing that a lack of communication was a key factor in the deterioration of the relationship is a crucial step. However, more important than that is understanding how you can apply this learning in your daily life. Communication is not just about words, it's also about actions. The small daily interactions can have a profound impact. A simple gesture of affection, a thoughtful glance, or a sincere question can reinforce the connection. Therefore, start implementing these practices in your relationships. Ask the other person how their day was, show genuine interest in their concerns, and above all, be present. A fundamental part of this process is self-reflection. Ask yourself what your own insecurities are and how they may be influencing your interactions. Often, the fear of opening up comes from past experiences. Understanding your emotions is vital so that you don't project your anxieties onto others. Vulnerability should be seen as an opportunity for growth, not as a weakness. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you not only open up to the other person, but also create a safe space for them to do the same. This can change the dynamic of the relationship, allowing both of you to feel valued and understood. Another important aspect is active listening. Often you might be so focused on expressing your own feelings that you forget to listen to what the other person has to say. Practicing active listening means truly paying attention, asking questions, and showing that you are interested in the other person's concerns and feelings. This type of interaction not only improves communication, but also strengthens the emotional bond. Moreover, it's important to set boundaries. Communicating what is acceptable and what is not in a relationship is essential to avoid resentment. By clearly stating what you expect and what you can offer, both parties can navigate challenges together in a healthier way. Conflicts are inevitable in any relationship. What distinguishes a healthy relationship is how these conflicts are managed. Instead of avoiding discussions, face problems head-on. When you approach a conflict with honesty and respect, you give the relationship a chance to grow. Remember that in a conflict, the goal is not to win, but to find a solution that works for both sides. The practice of gratitude can also be a powerful tool. Often, we focus so much on what's wrong that we forget to appreciate the good things. Take time to express gratitude to your partner, not just for the big gestures, but also for the small things in everyday life. This practice can create a positive and welcoming environment where both feel valued. Additionally, it's essential to remember that each person is unique and brings their own emotional baggage to the relationship. Recognizing that the other may have different experiences and reactions than yours is crucial for empathy. This means that when listening to the other person, you should try to understand where their feelings are coming from, not just focus on how it affects you. Throughout this journey, you may discover that building a healthy relationship requires ongoing effort. It's not something won all at once. It's a daily commitment. Each day is a new opportunity to practice open communication and vulnerability. When you commit to being honest and to listening to one another, you create a cycle of trust and mutual respect that can withstand the test of time. Change also involves an element of patience. Not every result will come immediately. There will be days when communication flows easily, and other days when it presents challenges. It's important to be patient with yourself and with others during this process. Being aware that change takes time can help relieve the pressure. When you encounter difficulties, remember that everyone is on a continuous learning journey. Every interaction is an opportunity for growth. If things don't go as planned, use that as a chance to reflect and adapt your approach. The key is not to give up. Persistence is a valuable quality in any relationship. Lastly, remember that personal and emotional transformation does not happen in isolation. By working on yourself, you positively influence those around you. Your actions and attitudes can inspire others to be more open and vulnerable. This creates a domino effect, where change spreads and transforms not only your relationship, but also those of others. Communication and vulnerability are essential tools for building deep and meaningful connections. As you finish this reflection, keep in mind that every step taken toward honesty and openness is a step toward a future rich in relationships. The journey is ongoing, and the willingness to open up and value human connection will always be the key to true and lasting love. Life is a series of moments that we often don't recognize until they have passed. Have you ever stopped to think about how small daily interactions can shape a relationship? Each good morning, every smile, and each gesture of affection are fundamental to building what becomes a deep connection. Without these elements, relationships can quickly become superficial. A crucial aspect to consider is the importance of setting aside time for others. Often the busy routine of daily life makes us forget to dedicate a special moment to those we love. The hustle of work, obligations, and social commitments can push relationships to the background, leaving room for disconnection. Making communication a priority means creating those spaces where both partners can dedicate time to each other without external distractions. You can start implementing this by creating simple rituals: a weekly dinner without distractions, a walk outdoors, or even moments of silence together can be meaningful. These moments are precious opportunities to reconnect, discover what's happening in each other's lives, and share your own experiences. Furthermore, the practice of expressing gratitude is essential. Often, everyday life makes us forget to acknowledge what the other person does for us. A simple thank you can mean a lot and strengthen the connection. When you express appreciation, you not only validate the other person's efforts, but also create an environment where both feel valued. Another important aspect is understanding change. Sometimes a relationship may go through difficult phases, and that is normal. What you should keep in mind is that change is a natural part of life and relationships. What matters is how you choose to navigate those changes. Being willing to face challenges together can strengthen the bond. Understanding that each person brings their own experiences and traumas is vital. What may seem like a misunderstanding could actually be a reaction to past experiences. By opening up about your own insecurities, you create a space where the other person feels safe to share theirs. This exchange is fundamental for strengthening the relationship. It's also important to establish healthy boundaries. By making it clear what is acceptable and what is not, you help prevent resentment. Everyone should feel they have the right to express their feelings and needs without fear of retaliation. This creates an environment of mutual respect and understanding. Honest dialogue about expectations and desires is essential. Often, what leads to conflicts is the lack of clarity about what is expected from the relationship. Conversations about the future, personal and professional goals should be part of the routine. This not only aligns expectations, but also allows each person to understand what the other values and wants to achieve. Additionally, forgiveness is a central piece in any relationship. We all make mistakes, and sometimes we hurt those we love. Learning to forgive and to ask for forgiveness can be one of the most liberating steps. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, but rather choosing not to let the past define the future. This is crucial for building a healthy relationship. Empathy is another element that cannot be overlooked. Putting yourself in the other person's shoes, trying to understand their emotions and reactions, is fundamental. Often, the person next to you may be dealing with their own internal battles. Showing that you care and that you are willing to listen can make all the difference. It's equally important not to underestimate the power of touch. Small physical gestures like a hug, a touch on the shoulder, or holding hands can communicate love and support in ways that words cannot. Physical contact is a powerful way to show affection and can help relieve tensions in the relationship. In times of conflict, how you communicate is crucial. Avoiding personal attacks and focusing on behavior or the situation is essential. Instead of saying "you never listen to me," try rephrasing it to "I feel like my concerns aren't heard." This change in approach can open doors to a more productive dialogue. Moreover, quality time is a valuable currency. It's not about how much time you spend together, but the quality of that time that matters. Disconnecting from devices and focusing on each other can transform an ordinary moment into something memorable. Creating new experiences together can bring freshness to the relationship, reminding both of you why you fell in love. Mutual support during tough times is also crucial. When one partner is going through a challenging moment, being present and offering support can strengthen the bond. This shows that you stand by them, willing to face adversities together. Emotional support fosters a sense of unity and can help overcome even the toughest obstacles. Lastly, continuous self-evaluation is important. Regularly asking yourself if you're positively contributing to the relationship can help maintain focus. Reviewing your actions and behavior patterns allows you to make necessary adjustments before small issues escalate into major crises. The journey of a relationship is full of ups and downs, but the willingness to communicate openly and with vulnerability is the key to lasting love. By valuing each interaction, conversation, and gesture, you're not only building a stronger relationship, but also becoming a more authentic version of yourself. Change starts now, and every step taken toward communication and understanding is a step toward a future richer in relationships. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the expectations that come with a relationship? Often, we create idealized images of how things should be, and this can distance us from reality. It is essential to understand that true love is not a straight line. It has curves, detours, and even moments of stagnation. The key is to recognize these realities and work together to overcome them. A fundamental part of this process is understanding one another. Each partner brings their own set of experiences and expectations. By addressing these differences, you can avoid misunderstandings and frustrations. It is important to have honest conversations about what each person expects from the relationship. This can include discussing life goals, values, and even dreams. When both partners are on the same page, the relationship tends to flourish. Additionally, practicing empathy should be a priority. Being empathetic means not just listening, but also trying to understand what the other person is feeling. Sometimes, a simple gesture of understanding can make a significant difference. When you put yourself in the other person's shoes, you create a space where both feel safe to share their deepest emotions. Communication should not be a sporadic practice, but rather a daily habit. Meaningful conversations can arise in unexpected moments, whether it's during a meal, while watching a movie, or even on a walk. Taking advantage of these moments to discuss feelings and concerns helps keep the connection alive. Don't be afraid to bring up sensitive topics. It's in that space where growth happens. One aspect that is often overlooked is the importance of acknowledging each other's accomplishments. Celebrating victories, no matter how small, strengthens the bond. This shows that you are attentive to what is happening in your partner's life and that you genuinely care about their well-being. These moments of recognition create a positive environment where both partners feel valued. Another important dimension is flexibility. Relationships evolve, and both partners must be willing to adapt to changes. This may include accepting new responsibilities, the need for more space, or even changing plans. Being flexible is crucial for the survival of a relationship, as it allows both individuals to grow together. Practicing gratitude is also essential. Take time to express your appreciation for what the other person does. A simple thank you can have a significant impact. This practice not only reinforces the connection, but also creates an atmosphere of love and mutual respect. It is crucial to be aware that conflicts are inevitable. What truly matters is how you address them. Instead of avoiding discussions, face problems with honesty and respect. When approaching a conflict, focus on solutions rather than placing blame. This fosters a collaborative approach where both partners feel heard and valued. The importance of being present cannot be overstated. In a world full of distractions, we often forget to be truly present for one another. Disconnecting from devices and giving your partner your full attention is a powerful gesture. It shows that you value the time spent together and are willing to invest in the relationship. Finally, patience is a vital element. Change and growth take time. Be prepared to face challenges and misunderstandings. The important thing is for both partners to remain committed to working together, even when things get tough. This mutual commitment is what will help build a lasting relationship. In summary, the transformation in a relationship begins with the willingness to communicate openly, be vulnerable, and appreciate every interaction. By cultivating a safe space for emotional expression, you lay the groundwork for a true and meaningful love. Don't underestimate the power of small conversations and daily gestures. They are the building blocks that support a deep and lasting connection. Before you leave, do two things now. Take a deep breath and hold on to what touched your heart today. And, if it makes sense, share this story with someone who also needs to hear it.